All right, so this is a free bonus workshop, and I really wanted all of you to get to know Lucy. I go to call you Dr. Lucy because you're also a Chiro. But in this context, this is Coach Lucy. So I've brought Lucy onto the team because she's amazing at helping people get to the root emotion and sometimes the root event of what triggers that emotion. And what that can look like is you reacting in the moment today based on past experiences. And we know that, you know, if you've watched the other workshops that we've done for free here, we know that a majority of our nervous system works subconsciously. If we're not aware of what's triggering us, we will just continue to respond in the same way. And sometimes in group coaching, what I find is that as we start to increase your physical capacity to deal with stresses, the triggers become highlighted because you're like, oh, I feel more regulated day to day, but there's still these events that really trigger me, and I just go from 0 to 100, and it can get like almost really difficult to regulate through those. Enter Coach Lucy, who is all about helping you get to the bottom of those emotions. So we're going to talk more about that today.
Thank you.
So welcome, Lucy. So first off, we're going to start with a heart-focused breathing, just to kind of get in the mood to regulate and focus on this content. So this will be available for 7 days, just like the other workshops as well. So if you are not coming live, but you want to double back and watch, it will be here. So let's close down our eyes. Hey, Emily, we're just doing a heart-focused breathing to start. So closing down our eyes, focusing your attention to the area of your heart. Imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area, breathing a little bit slower and deeper than usual. Find an easy rhythm that's comfortable. We're just going to hold this for 3 more breaths today. And 1 more breath, opening your eyes when you're ready. Welcome, newcomers. If you came in that, we were just doing a heart-focused breathing, which we did cover in the previous 2 free workshops. If you haven't watched them yet, that's where you'll get more info on it. So we're here with Coach Lucy, Dr. Coach Lucy, and she is going to talk us through all things emotion and emotional regulation. So tell us everything, Lucy. So let's start with, I guess, the concept that your emotions today or your triggers today may not be from today.
I think it's really easy in our day-to-day interactions, you know, with your partner, with your housemates, with your children, with your work colleagues, that we find ourselves having these conversations or going through these motions where it's like, I've been here before, I've had these conversations before, I've felt like this before, you know, and we can find ourselves in these patterns, and we do these things over and over again, but just in different environments, different circumstances. And it's that ability to go, well, why? It can't be every single situation. It's often because we're replaying a circuit that's already been laid down in our brain and our body, usually from childhood, that gets re-triggered. And it can be really difficult to have that conscious awareness around what is the trigger. And I think because in childhood there's event circumstances that happen that really depends on the state of our nervous system at the time when they happen as to whether we feel safe enough to process it, or if we don't, we store it. And it can be all of those, pieces of a puzzle. It can be the color of shirt that somebody was wearing when that event happened when you were a child. It can be um, sounds, music, smells. It can be all of those things that then become triggers that we don't have the conscious awareness of, because they're things that we don't necessarily remember about that event. We weren't able to process it. We just felt how we felt. And what our body does is it locks it down into this little package and it stores it inside our body. And it becomes a circuitry because the brain just goes, well, this is what happened to me. I survived it. I came out the other side of it. So that's obviously how I need to respond to survive. Every time I feel this trigger or this feeling in my body, that's what I'm going to do. Even though it may not necessarily be the most effective or the most healthy response. But yeah, that's how we find ourselves doing these things over and over and getting recently in our current day-to-day life.
Yeah, and I love, I shouldn't say I love, but the whole like questioning, particularly say around relationships. Say you've had similar relationship patterns your whole life or friendship patterns, and you're like, why do I keep attracting this type of person? And it's like, no, you're just replaying that. You're trying to finish that, experience that you've had, and your body's trying to actually process that. But in the midst of it, you're going through the same thing over and over, despite it being a new person or a new friend or a new environment. Like whatever you change on the outside is only going to have so much impact because the inside, those patterns have already been wired and they're subconscious. So like you say, if we don't have the awareness around why it's there or why we respond the way we do, then it's
absolutely
just going to be
and I think
normal.
it's about survival as well. Like our brains and bodies are not silly, they have to do to help us survive. It's just that, sometimes we don't have the capacity, the resilience, the skills, the support, the safety really to access those skills to process it in a healthy way. And so the brain just goes, well, I'll do what I need to do to get us through. And I think there's this whole new generation of people finding awareness of understanding this, and they can start to see the patterns playing out. I'm sorry, there's a mosquito around my head. See these playing out, and they want to know what to do about it and how they can, where it's come from, what's the root cause, and yeah, what do I do about it? How do I change it? So I think that's exciting.
Yeah, and something we were talking about before we jumped on this live was the concept of like, it's not a blame game either. It's not like, this is from my childhood, therefore, my parents did a really terrible job, and or this is like, I can see all my triggers and I'm putting them on my children, so therefore I'm a bad mum. I need to, work harder on being a better mum, etc. It's about knowing where your nervous system capacity is in this moment, and same as our parents' capacity during our childhood. They gave us the best that they could with the nervous system that they had. So when we talk about this stuff, there's no blame or finger pointing. It's just like everyone
Absolutely,
is doing their
and
best,
I hear you
basically.
say that all the time, is that you did the best you could with the nervous system that you had at the time. And I think this concept that our nervous system can be ever changing, evolving, and that there's things that we can do to help it change and evolve as well, is really empowering. And also the concept that, for every, I guess, moment we spend on healing ourselves, we can heal our lineage backwards and our lineage forwards as well. So for all the effort I put in to work on myself, I can help heal the people around me in my family, my sisters, my mum, but also for my daughter as well, and to create, more resilience in our nervous system as a community, to cope with stresses as well, and to stop replaying patterns.
Yeah. So let's maybe talk about an example and how you would help someone, I guess, get to why they're reacting in a way that they do, or why something is so
I guess a
triggering
lot
for
of
them.
it, I guess over the years working with people, I start to hear people's language. And the words we speak become the house we live in. I don't know if you've ever heard that saying before. I hear people say about guilt before. It's like people use it all the time. I should have done this. I should be able to. And I don't think people realize how impactful just that one single word is should. It comes with a lot of weight. It comes with a lot of expectation. And it's guilt tripping, I think first and foremost, we chat. I hear your story. Where are you at? I listen to the language that you sing. Tell me what's going on for you. What's the pattern that's playing out, or how's it being expressed? What are you feeling in your body? How's it showing up in your life? I guess emotions are their energy in motion until they get stuck. And, I think for males and a lot of conditioning, there's a lot of expectations around what emotions are good and what emotions are bad, and what emotions we're allowed to feel or express. And I think a lot of the time we're told we're not allowed to express them. So then they get trapped and they get stuck, and we get in this vicious cycle. And it's like, well, let's try and identify what those emotions are first and foremost, how they're showing up in your life. And then, we talk, we listen to your language. That ties in a lot to emotions about where they're generated in the body, where they're from. You start to find this story starts to unravel. And as you start to access and unlock those emotions and allow your body to start to feel them, people have these rushes of memories. They go, oh, now you're talking about it. I remember when I was 9 and this thing happened and my dad did this and said this, and it just unlocks this whole story. And they're like, I completely forgot about that. It's like, well, yeah, you might have forgotten about it because you packaged it up and you stored it in your body. You might have dissociated at the time as well because you didn't feel safe to process it. You and your parents may not have had the skills or the know-how to unpack it, to feel those emotions, to process it at the time, and that's okay. But we do now. And I guess the aim is to create a safe space just to get it out, to put the puzzle pieces together. We create the story, we unlock it, and there's no other way around it. You have to feel the emotions in your body. If you unpackage that package in your body, you have to feel them. But it's about feeling safe to do that, and that's where a lot of the healing will start.
I find that for me personally, another reason why I love heart-focused breathing so much is does create a safe space for my nervous system to feel things. So often if I feel like I'm stuck in a loop, or, I'm pretty good at, I guess, reflecting on an emotion that's probably not associated with right now. It's, triggered by something that I've experienced in my childhood. And I can feel that like little girl Carrie coming out and like throwing a tantrum inside my body. And I use heart focused breathing to allow that feeling to flow. So rather than to shut it down or, even like rationalize it. We can think about our feelings all the time. And I talk about this a lot. We can think about our healing all the time. But if we're up in our brain and we're not feeling anything in our body and we're not letting that flow through, then we're not going to process it. It's a completely different part of our brain. So, just like going back to those free workshops where I talk about the heart focused breathing, it's really another way you can sit with emotion, particularly if you feel really uncomfortable with difficult emotions like anger and shame and guilt and all of the really heavy ones. That's like a really nice way just to like tell your body you're safe to feel this and feel it. And you'll probably find the more you do that, the easier it starts to flow through rather than get caught and getting stuck in that feedback.
It's the safety factor, isn't it? And we can teach our body that too, like when something's safe. I don't know about you, but in my clinic space as well, people, as soon as they, they go through these initial phases of care and they're on the table and we're working with their physical body, and eventually what you see is that people come in and they lie down on the table and they go, and it's like, yeah, because you've just taught your body that this is a really safe space. When you come and lie on this table, everything that we're doing in this space for your brain and your body right now is about creating safety. And it knows that, and it calms right down, and it comes back into this space of being able to just accept and process in the moment, which is really nice. And I think the heart-focused breathing is the exact same thing, and it's a tool in your toolbox that you can use on a day-to-day basis. And it's definitely something I use with my toddler at the moment too.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, I'll talk about it all day. But, in saying that, I think that's a really important thing that you've brought up, because oftentimes if we've spent our life in fight, flight, or in freeze, in complete shutdown, and we're in survival trying to protect ourselves, not only have we probably not truly felt our emotions, but we'll only feel safe doing it on our own. Oftentimes we don't have a safe person. Even, our closest friends might not feel safe to truly feel all of our emotions. And sometimes it's okay to find someone, whether it's a practitioner for the in-person body work, or whether it's online coaching one-on-one or in a group, whatever it is. It's okay to find a space that feels safe, to find people that help you carry that load. You do not have to do this on your own if it feels too big. And sometimes you might find it's really easy to feel your emotions when you are on your own, because that you're your only safe person. But then put yourself in a group situation and it might be a lot harder to actually feel those emotions or allow your body to feel safe. So it's kind of almost a step forward when you can feel safe and regulated and supported by a community, rather than this, I have to do it all on my own.
And I think, every human just wants to feel acknowledged and validated. And it goes such a long way in our healing. And sometimes it is hard to find people in our community, in our families, in our, immediate friendship group that, like you said, can acknowledge, can carry, can feel comfortable with the sharing of those things. That's another thing to note as well, is that oftentimes when people express an emotion that makes you feel uncomfortable and you want to run really far away from that, that's something that is, I guess, a trigger. It's an emotion for you that you need to explore, because you may not feel safe to feel that emotion in your own body. So when you see somebody else expressing it in their body, it makes you feel uncomfortable and you want to run far away. So finding somebody that just on that level can go, yeah, that's heavy, that's scary, that's whatever that is, and acknowledge and validate it, and then help you hold that, help you explore that. It's so invaluable. I know there's people in my life that have been that for me, and yeah, it's unlocked many, many doors for me.
Mm. And on that, you know, sometimes our kids feel really big emotions and we don't like it. And we get that sensation of like, I need to run away, or like, just like stop whinging, or like, you know, whatever it is that your kids bring up in you. And I think that's like a really important thing to explore as a parent. Like when you get that feeling of like, this is really grating on me, I'm really not comfortable. Why are you not comfortable with your child feeling anger, or, you know, feeling whatever emotion that they're
Absolutely.
feeling in that moment?
And behavior as well. Like when your kid does something, does it totally irritate you, or does it make you feel yucky inside? Does it make you feel shame? Like, it's that exploration of, well, when they do that, why do I feel that way? And then why do I behave in a certain way? And it's like, well, maybe you do feel shame. Maybe you were shamed for that as a child. And that may just have been a product of the generation that we were raised in, and what was normal and what was considered okay at the time, I guess. But it's that exploration of those feelings and those behaviors that they trigger in us through their emotional behaviors too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask about, you know, NET, which is Neuro-Emotional Technique, talks about different types of emotions stored in different organs, meridian systems, etc. So let's kind of do, I guess, an example of, yeah, like, give me an example. Sorry, like an influx of people just like started to join. Hello, everyone, and I was like, well, my eyes were like, yeah, I couldn't concentrate for a second.
There's some old beautiful faces showing up in here, which is really nice to see. Okay, so for example, yes, so as you said, different organs in our body hold different emotions. Some really classic ones is your liver holds anger, frustration. Your gallbladder in that same kind of area is like a sense of feeling galled, which is like a kick in the guts or a stab in the back. Your lungs is a sense of grief and sadness. You know, it's why we cry. Your stomach, I find this meridian so fascinating. One of the emotions there is disgust. And I actually really love it because when it shows up for clients in practice, people are like, oh, that's a, no, that's a strong word. That's really, I don't think. Okay. Like it is. And, you know, it holds a lot of power, that word, I think. But it's a very primitive emotion. It's generated from very deep in the brain, and it's about survival. So if you think about, you know, some chicken that's been left in the fridge for too long, and you go and have a whiff and it's gone off, and you smell it and you go, ooh, that expression on your face, that is disgust. But with the society that we live in now, we now apply that emotion not only to food that's either going to make us sick and kill us back in caveman days, we now apply it to people. We apply it to situations. We apply it to, you know, experiences that we've had. And again, it's about staying safe, but, you know, you feel a sense of disgust with a colleague because of the way they behaved. That gets triggered. Your brain and your body triggers that. But where is it coming from? It may have been triggered from when you were a child. But I just find it such a fascinating emotion, like that it came from, you know, food, and if it was often survival, to now being applied to people, I think. And and people get really like, oh no, I don't feel that. And so, well, it's okay if you do. It's just a
Yeah, I can very much resonate with that feeling around people or experiences.
Absolutely. It's our nervous system saying, that makes me feel safe, or that doesn't make me feel safe. Yeah. So I think they can tell us a lot about our nervous system, but also tell us a lot about where we're at and what feels good and what we need and who we need around us, and just be a bit of a guiding light in a way. Get to that root cause and work out why and where it came from.
Yeah. And, something that I just want to finish with is the concept that we don't necessarily, like, say for disgust, for example, if we find someone's behavior disgusting, then we can look at that and process that and, say, look in the past when we've seen that similar behavior or whatever, had a similar experience that didn't end well for us. But it doesn't mean, even if we process those emotions, it doesn't mean that we need to put up with that behavior, right? We can still set that boundary around, that is disgusting to my nervous system. I really don't feel safe. And it actually doesn't matter what my trigger is, but my boundary is I'm not going to spend time with a person like that anyway, whether you process that emotion or not. So we're not talking about here like this, processing of all of these root emotions is not going to necessarily make you invincible in any environment and make you put up with heaps of people, like whoever they are and whatever they do. You still have those personal, moral, boundaries. You have your values, you have your personality, all of those things, and you don't have to put
Absolutely.
up with stuff.
And often you will find that people who have emotions stored in there, say disgust, are more likely actually to put up with disgusting behaviors or disgusting people. They can't actually set a nice, clear boundary. They'll actually just let it consume them, overwhelm them, and they end up in a unhealthy state because they can't process it. They don't know how to set in those new boundaries. So actually, once you get it moving, then people are much more capable of setting their boundary and saying, no, that is disgusting to me. That doesn't feel safe. Here's my clear boundary. Yeah.
I love that. That's so it's clarity.
Instead of stuffing it down and letting it, consume you, it's okay. It's okay to feel that feeling. It's not disgusting for me to feel disgust. It's not shameful for me to feel disgust. I'm not going to get in trouble for finding someone or something disgusting. I'm allowed to feel that. And then when I allow myself to feel that, then it's much more realistic for me to say, actually, I don't want to spend time with you because I find X, Y, Z.
Because you are disgusting.
Exactly.
To me, of course.
I think, your values, morals, beliefs, that's where they all come from.
Yeah, I love that. So awareness is step one, and then step two is working out those root emotions, and then step three is actually feeling them and processing that to enable you to set boundaries or whatever you want to do in certain situations. Yeah. How amazing is that? So good. So, in context, that might look like, for an adult who's watching, who's feeling really burnt out, that might look like, being able to set the boundary around not hanging out with people who make you feel really depleted at the end. You feel like you've got a hangover from hanging out with certain people, but you don't really know why, then this process would help you get to the bottom of that and set a really healthy boundary, because you'll have an inner knowing as to why. You know, for a parent, it may look like, I don't know why my child triggers me so much when they whinge and pull at my clothes for food when I've just fed them, but they said no to that food. Like, am I painting a picture for you here? But getting to the root of that and feeling it, then it allows you to respond to your child with the compassion that I know a lot of mums want to be able to, but feel like they're caught up in these cycles where they just respond automatically without thinking fully, because we're not using our thinking brain when we're in this state. We are, you know, using these feedback loops.
I can't remember where I read it this morning, but it was like, I can see the mum that I want to be, but I can't access her, you know. And it's like, oh, that hit home. That was like, yeah, you're living in this, you know, survival of, you know, what gets you through, not actually living in this focused space free of being weighed down by conditioning and stored emotions of previous experiences. And therefore, no, you can't set boundaries that allow you to be the mum you want to be. Yeah, that hit home.
That's a good one. I love it. So that was all of the content that we have for today, guys. I wanted to share with you the beauty of Coach Lucy and all of her knowledge around emotions. As you can see, she's a full bottle and really passionate about it. So for anyone who is on my waitlist or who joins this round of group coaching, either the adults or the parenting, gets a free bonus 30-minute session with Lucy to uncover one trigger or one emotion that you just can't seem to figure out why you're in that loop. And she will help you get to the bottom of that and clear that, or re-experience that, so your body can release instead of store. So that is just amazing. I'm so glad that I have you on this team now to support my coaching clients in this process. So thank you so much for joining me live.
It was nice to see some friendly faces pop in down there live too.
All right. Bye.